This is a tutorial on the Retiform technique, also known as the grid technique at times. So this is the card that I put on our members group, which you voted that you would like to learn for the August card class. So with this particular one, I sponged it in, just so you know, I've sponged it in basic grey, mint macaron and so saffron. So the next one's going to be completely different, and I'm going to be using different stamp sets. So I'm going to be using Stampin' Up's Magical Mermaid mostly, and just a couple of background stamps from the Sea of Textures. You can use whatever stamp sets you want. You can use as many stamp sets as you want, or you may like just to use one stamp set. So what I've done is I've got a piece of the new Seaside Spray colour, one of the new in colours. Now all the measurements are in your Word document, and I've gone ahead and stamped on a piece of Seaside Spray. I stamped the mermaid with her tail just going off the cardstock a little bit, and I've glued that already into my card, ready to go. So my next step is I'm going to glue my mat of Pear Pizzazz on the front. So just centre it as well as you can. We're going to be putting the final mat on top of that, so you're not going to see much of this, but it gives it a nice border. And then what we're going to be stamping and masking on is a piece of shimmery white. Now I do like shimmery white when I'm sponging because it's got that sparkle in it. It just seems to let your sponge jobber glide on it a little bit easier for some reason, rather than just using the plain Whisper White. But you just need a piece of white cardstock for this step. Okay, so that's going to sit on there quite nicely, and you're just going to see that Pear Pizzazz as a border going all the way round. Okay, so when I do the Retiform technique, every template is different. There's no wrong or right way to do it. So to start with, I have what I call a focal point. So I start from here, and then I start drawing with my ruler and pencil, and then depending on what stamp sets I'm using, I write in here, I plan it, so you know when you're doing it, you haven't forgotten the plan where you want the sentiments and images. Now that is only a guide for me to go by. Okay, so it will turn out completely different, but you do need a guide. So then I use Eclipse masking tape. Okay, so you can use sticky notes, or you could just use I used to use like a really thick piece of cardstock, and I just have it like that and sponge up the sides like this. So you could try that as well, but I wouldn't try it on thin cardstock. I would only use a thick one. So to start with, we're going to make the panels. So I'm going to go, as I said, it's most probably going to be completely different so I'm just going to put one piece of masking tape there and one about there. Then I'm going to do all these borders in Pool Party. So all I want to do is just along along each one like this, very lightly. Now this is where you would use your darker colour. And I'm trying to do it upside down and it's not working, so I'm just going to turn it. That's better. So I'm just doing the very edge. So if I was to lift that masking tape, you can see the effect that's going to give us. So I'm only going to be doing a very quick, well, you mightn't think it's quick, but to how long I normally take to do one of these, it is quick. So I'm just going to take that off, and you can see already I've got one there. So then I'm going to, and already I can see that this is changing. So I'm going to pop that there, and I'm going to pop, which is going to be a smaller one, but it doesn't matter. This is what I mean, and I better just cover up. Just be very careful, because you don't want to go over any pieces that you've already sponged over. So I'm just going to, I don't like how that is looking there, so just sponge out that little piece there. That's a bit better. So you can see it's not a quick process, but it is well worth it. So this time I'm going to go down from that point to that point, and I've already done that one there, so I just need to go down to this one. You can see how good it is to use the Eclipse masking tape, and you can see that it doesn't look anything like I had my focal point starting here. So now I'm going to have to change my design a bit. So I'm going to have I'm going to use this as my focal point. So I need to just do this one down here. So you can see what I mean by just having a plan, but you end up doing it differently. and I find the sponge daub is the best thing for doing this part. But as I said, I find it a lot easier to do it on the shimmery white. And don't panic if you haven't got any shimmery white in your stash. Just use whatever you've got. So then we're going to have so then I'm going to go like that. I'm going to cover up the one I've already done just so I can see it. Now my original one many years ago that I did use the Magical Mermaid was very well received, but I had like about 15 segments. So, and it does look really good if you do quite a few segments, but it would just, the video would just be way too long. So then I'm going to, I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got this one. So then I had so I'm most probably not going to have as many as I had originally planned, but that doesn't matter. This one, so I'm just masking off where I already have done. So it's just up this one here. So that's coming together quite well. And then, so I've got 1, 2, 3, then I've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I might just have, I just feel that's a bit wide. I might even, because I did want the mermaid to go up in one of these panels. So I'm just going to make this large panel just a little bit smaller. I just felt it looked a little bit wide. Good thing about the Eclipse masking tape, you can just pull it up and pop it back down again. So I think we'll just go with that. Okay, so that's the first step with the pool party. So we'll pop the pool party out the way, and then we're going to bring in Pear Pizzazz. So now, also still using the masking tape, but now we've made our segments, it becomes a bit faster. So we're just going to use the pear pizzazz. And we're just going to colour over, and it doesn't matter if you colour over the pool party, it sort of just blends it all in. And I normally would do this a lot slower than I'm doing it. So you can see it's quite effective. So this is the most that is the time consuming. So I'm just working my way around, and you can always add a third colour as well. So you can see, like with the second colour, it's a lot, you don't have to be so careful as I did with the pool party, because the pool party you're just making those segments. And remember, you're going to stamp images over here, so this is just the sponge background. And I am doing it as quickly as I can for you for the video, but it is important that you do understand how to create the actual Retiform areas, as in the panels. If you get a spot like that, that's going to be stamping over it anyway, but if you get like a bit of a blob where you've gone on, I should have been sponging on the masking tape before going on, and because I didn't, I've left a little, like a fingerprint of a sponge there, but I can easily cover that up with my stamping. So I'm not being too fussy, because I do understand watching the length of the video, but you do need to understand how it's created. And you can always fast forward it, but by doing that you may miss out on some of the directions that I may mention. So you can see how easy it is to do when you've got this Eclipse masking tape. So we've only got about 3 to go. So this is a tricky one here. So I'm going to pop that there, and that there. So it is important for you to look at where you are masking. As you see there, I had to use 3 pieces of masking tape, so I wasn't going into the areas where I shouldn't be going. So I really hope that you do give this technique a try, and don't do it try and do it as fast as I'm doing it. Just take your time, and as I said, you can just do every, so we're just on this last one. So we'll just quickly do this last one. Like that. And then you can just go over, as long as you don't lose that main dark colour that we use, like the pool party. You don't want to lose too much of that, because that shows you your segments. Okay, so then I might just grab a little bit of Daffodil Delight, just to highlight some of the areas. And remember, when I start stamping, I actually might have a piece just to stamp off there. It's just going to give some highlights in those areas. But when we start stamping, depending what colour you're going to stamp in, I'm going to stamp in Early Espresso. It will all blend in really nicely. So I think this third colour really highlighted the areas. I think it would have looked a bit bland without that third colour. And see, as long as you use light colours, you're not going to lose your panels, like how I used the pool party to do my panels. You're not going to lose those as long as you do use a darker colour, and as long as you use lighter colours to do this part, okay? And I know it most probably looks a bit of a mess, but it will change once we do our stamping. So we're going to I'm just going to bring in my Stamparatus. Now you can just use acrylic blocks, but I need to use the Stamparatus so I get a good impression. And that's a good thing about having a guide to go through. And I nearly forgot, you must mask. This is a really important time to mask, is when we're stamping the images, because we don't want them to go into the other quadrants. So I'm just going to position my beautiful mermaid, and it doesn't matter that the whole image isn't getting stamped into that section, because that's part of the technique when you're finished. And you're using the Stamparatus, the good thing is you can always go over it if you don't get a strong enough pressure. But we don't want a really strong pressure, because so when you can see when I move, see, so some of the stamp went on the masking. So up here, I need to mask this off quite well. And what I'm going to do up here is I'm just going to have her tail in that section. That, and I'll just wipe off that bit of the Stamparatus. And then over here I'm going to put a sentiment. Oh, now I've stamped that upside down, haven't I? That's wonderful. I'm just going to go with it. Not sure how I'll fix that. So I'm going to keep going. And then here I'm going to use a background stamp. Also from the Magical Mermaid. I can't believe I stamped that upside down. So that's got the nice coral. And that's why it's good to make a bit of a plan so that when you're grabbing it, you know what you were going to do, where you're going to put each stamp. So on this one, I'm going to put some grass. So, except for my upside down stamp, can't believe I did that. I'm really happy with how this one is turning out. So I'm just going to put another background stamp in there. Just tear off a bit of masking tape so it doesn't it's quite a skinny one, skinny to fit in, so it's only going to fit a little bit of it in. So you can see you can just use whatever stamp sets you like. And then up the top here, I did plan to put some coral. I might actually put the fisherman's net instead. I love that. That is just awesome. That is so effective, that fisherman's net. What I might do with that, I might just have a little bit more of it just in that little corner there. Doesn't really matter because I've masked it off. It's just going to go on the Stamparatus. And then we've just got one more. Which I might even just put another mermaid in there. And that would have been perfect if I hadn't have done my upside down stamp. So that on there, just going to have to fix that upside down stamp somehow. So quite easily, just grab a little bit of Whisper White. And so I'm just going to stamp that, my base card over there. So I could have just redone this video, but I thought no, I will keep going, because you can see that everyone makes mistakes. So what I'm going to do is just, actually I should have done that first, just grab my little bit of matte and sponge on some Daffodil Delight. And this is just a background. And then just grab a little Pear Pizzazz. Doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm going to stamp this out. So I'm just extending that out. So we'll see how this works out. Get rid of all those ink pads. That over there. I'm paranoid now that I'm going to so hopefully that's up the right way this time. I'll put it over and down a little bit. So you can see that there are ways to fix your mistakes. Just grab a circle punch, punch that out. Clean up all that later. And then I'm just going to simply glue that circle punch, cover up my mistake. And I'm not really worried that it's gone into one of the other. Like that. Let's grab my really sharp scissors and just cut off that bit of overhang. And then just grab a card. And I do apologise if this video's gone too long for you. But with these sorts of techniques, it's really hard to have a short video. And I'm really glad I didn't redo that, because it just goes to show. So, and that's that one done today. So this is the first one that I showed you on the members group, and this is the one that we've done today. So I hope you'll give that a try. I can't wait to see what you create.